before you start a prep, how are you mentally? Is your mental health okay? How's your physical health? Have you gotten blood work? Everything good there? And your relationships, how are those? Being honest with yourself before going into it. But also, you need to make sure you've got your habits down, your foundational habits. If you still can't seem to track your food every day, if you still can't seem to get enough sleep or hydrate every day, base level, you're just not ready. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Coach Cody podcast. Today I'm joined by Des once again, and again, going to be my co-host probably from here on out. So hopefully you're just dig in her voice, and we're going to continue on. So anywho, today we want to touch on prep, like what it really entails. The actual reality of it, because I feel like it's romanticized in a way, or you just don't see the lows along with the highs. A lot of times you see people on stage and you see them happy, they're crossing the finish line, but you don't see the point in between where it gets really hard, or there just isn't realistic expectations as to what prep entails and the reality of how extreme it really is to get yourself shredded and ready for competition, but also the partner side of things, because that is also something that is really important, because you need a support system. And if your partner's not on board, it makes it exponentially harder, if not impossible. So Des is going to help me discuss that part of it today. But first, Des, what's up? How's it going? Anything new?
Good. I was just telling Cody I can hear my heart beating in my ears because my coffee and Ritalin are kicking in at the same time. So if I seem a little weird, I'm sorry. No, everything's good. Last week before the boys start school, so exciting. Get to go back to like a normal routine, which is great. Summer's been good, and just also looking forward to fall hitting. Not gonna lie, like it's been warmer this week, and I've been like more tired, I think, from it, because I'm like, this heat's exhausting, but it wasn't even that bad. So yeah,
for sure. It's like we've had a really, really mild summer, so it's like, excited for fall, but also no, man, we've been real lucky. Trying to be grateful for that, for sure. But who knows what's going to be happening next summer, or if our summer is just going to be like prolonged. There's always that worry of like, okay, it's been mild, so it's going to be hot till November or something.
I know next year's going to be like the worst.
Yeah, because that's how it went. So the year before last summer was pretty mild, and then last summer was just pure awfulness. Triple digit heat. Like
longest summer of my life.
It was a long fucking summer.
And I was like, hey, let's coach baseball.
Yeah, there's that too. But yeah, it's almost, there's like seasonal depression when it comes to the winter, because you feel like you're stuck indoors because it's cold, it's raining, it's snowing, whatever. But I feel like you get that in the summer if it's so hot that you don't want to go outside, and you're indoors a lot more because like the air conditioning, and because triple digit heat, like you can only stand it so long before you're like, I'm dying. So it's like
even the pool gets depression. Too hot.
Yeah, and you're just kind of like, well, this blows. Extreme weather on any side of the spectrum sucks. So anyways, not like we were probably done talking enough about the weather. So,
it's important.
Very important. So when it comes to prep, maybe you're someone who's interested in competing at some point. Maybe you're someone who's brand new. You've never done it before. Or maybe you have. You're just looking for ways to improve it for next time, having more realistic expectations, more about the process. Maybe you didn't really have much help, or you kind of were like, I'm going to wing it. So yeah, we'll just kind of fill in the blanks there. So should I just start off by going into like what it really looks like as far as timeline?
Yeah. I know you did a workshop on this. So for anybody that missed that, you can maybe give a little overview, a quick one.
So I did a full on, it's like an hour-long workshop. It was free. If anyone is interested, I can email it out, leave a comment, and I'll see how I can make that happen. Or maybe I'll put a link in the description or something that you can get access to the video that was recorded previously if you want the whole breakdown of things. And there's really so much more. I could do like 3 classes on prep, and fitting it all in one still isn't going to be sufficient to really,
So much that goes into it.
But at least it's a start. It gives you an idea of, realistic timeline and little things in between, of course. But yeah, so just to start, so prep timeline, it depends on where you're at. Do you have a lot of body fat to lose? Are you decently lean already? It could be, some people are already so lean, they can do an 8-week prep and they're fine, or a 12-week. Some people, have a little extra and you're going to need a longer prep. So something like 16 weeks, 20 weeks, even up to 25 sometimes. There's different phases of prep. So if I were to have it my way, I would do like 25 weeks, but like the first 5 are a pre-prep phase. So we're just kind of, reeling in nutrition, getting those habits in place to prepare you for when we're like in it. So that pre-prep is like a mental prep. It's just slowly, tightening things up, getting more on track with things if you've been a little loosey-goosey in the off season, because it happens, so just setting the tone, and then maybe losing a little bit of fat in the process. So when you start at like 20 weeks or whatever, then you're in a good spot. You've got all your habits down and you're just, smooth sailing as far as what you can control. I'm not saying life's not going to throw you hurdles. So that's kind of how I like to set the timeline: pre-prep, prep, and then of course you got peak week at the end there. But you also have to remember the last week, peak week, is not a week that you're going to be using to lose fat. That's the week you're going to be using to, refill your muscles, and so you're looking full and bigger on the stage. So if you're rushing it and you're using peak week to deplete, you might end up on stage either just not ready at all or looking flat. So just remember, say you're doing a 16-week prep, one of those weeks is not going to be for fat loss, so you have to kind of take that into account. But prep is, it's new, it's a sport, it's for a sport, it's competitive, it's extreme. So it's not going to be like just losing weight to lose some weight for your health, or just because you want to look good for summer. There's a difference between prep lean and just healthy lean. And I think that's where it is an area where people get confused. It is extreme, so you have to do extreme things to get there. It is not fun. It is not healthy. And it's not something I encourage outside of contest prep, but unfortunately it is necessary. And I also like to say there's 2 versions of me as a coach. There's lifestyle prep coach, or lifestyle coach, where I'm, more lenient and we got more wiggle room, and, we make mistakes. It's cool. We brush it off. We keep moving forward. Prep, I'm going to be on your ass. It's like, prep coach Cody is a different version. It's like, I expect more from my prep clients. And that's, having those habits down. And it's impossible to be perfect, but as a prep coach, I expect you to try to be as perfect as you can. Non-prep coach Cody does not expect you to try to be perfect. So I just want to differentiate the differences in even coaching approach when it comes to prep versus lifestyle. So when we start prep, again, we have the pre-prep, we're mentally preparing. When we get into prep, that's when no longer are you eating out, no longer are you eating cheat meals. It is exactly, you are hitting your given macros for those days, trying to hit exactly as close to you as you can with those. Or I might give someone a meal plan, depending. It really depends. If it's someone who's never competed before, I might do a meal plan. Or if it's someone who's a little rocky on hitting macros, I might do a meal plan just to take the guesswork out, take out any potential variables, and just control everything we can and keep it consistent. So from, let's say we're starting at week 20 all the way down to, 1 week out. That is the, structure that we're following. It's going to be eating. Everything is on point, on plan, and then hitting your workouts, whether that's, anywhere 4 or 5 workouts a week. And then cardio progressively gets more and more. So it might start you out with like 20 minutes, but by the end you might be doing an hour. But that is on top of a step goal. So step goals aren't going to count. I set a step goal to keep people's activity consistent. Reason being is the less, fat you have to lose, less calories you're consuming. Your body is smart. It's trying to reserve energy. So subconsciously, you're moving around less, you're fidgeting less. This is all metabolic adaptation that happens, even though we're not aware of it most times. So if you think of a time where you're like, oh, I'm not losing weight, I don't know what's happening, I'm eating the same things, you might not have been paying attention that your movement is actually way down because your body is like, no, we're not going to move. We're tired. So that's why I like to set a step goal, that we have that base level of movement. So that's not something that your body is going to adapt to. And let me tell you, getting your body, like forcing yourself to do those steps, is one of the hardest things, on top of, everything else, the workout, designated cardio, nutrition. So if it sounds exhausting, if you're tired of hearing me talking about it at this point, it is more exhausting than that. So yeah, it's a grind, but it's about, knowing your why. If you're not passionate about it, you're not going to make it, just because, like, why would you be, it takes you got to have something fucked up in your head, basically, to be willing.
It's not something you should do on a whim.
No.
I think I'd do a bodybuilding show.
Think about it. I mean, I will always encourage people to try it, because everyone is new. You're always going to have your first show. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to learn a lot, and that's okay. You're not going to be perfect your first show. I need to emphasize that, even though I'm like, try to be perfect, but also tell your coach if you accidentally binge or whatever. Don't leave us guessing.
There's just so much less wiggle room.
Right. I will never yell or berate someone for accidentally going on a binger or something, because, we're humans. Shit happens. What's most important to me is that I know where to go from there. So if you tell me, we can learn where to pivot and stuff like that. So don't feel like you got to hide it. Don't feel like you have to be ashamed. It happens, and it's happened. And the best thing you can do is just pivot. So tell your coach if anything happens. Don't try to hide it. They're used to it,
Otherwise, you're flying blind as a coach, right? You don't know where to go because you're like, what am I doing wrong in this plan?
Yeah.
When there's outside factors that you're not aware of.
Yeah, don't drive your coach crazy. Don't make them feel like, you're just defying the laws of thermodynamics. Don't make us call you out. So yeah. So it's just like, you're going to have to, for those weeks that you're prepping, structure is going to be massively important, and social events and traveling is going to be something that is exponentially harder. I'm not saying it's impossible, but for me, I feel like it's not possible just because it stresses me the fuck out, even when I'm not prepping. But when I'm prepping, especially, I'm extremely just I can't, I'm rigid. I just would rather not try to expend more energy trying to work my way around events and stuff like that. But everyone's different. Some people can balance it just fine. I just don't happen to be the type of person. Yeah. So where was I going with the time frame of, so it's once prep starts, do exactly as your coach says. If you have a coach, or just, follow, if you're coaching yourself, which isn't recommended, but if you are, you have to follow your plan, what you've made for yourself, stick to it as best as you can. It's going to be hard. It's going to be extreme. You're going to want to quit. It's going to be exhausting, but that basically means that you're on the right track. But it all pays off in the end, and just keep remembering your why behind it as motivation. Anyways, Des, would you have anything to add? In case you still want to
prep after that. No.
Sorry, that was all over the place, but
no. I mean, it's. I think that's you're spot on. I think anybody that really wants to do a prep should absolutely watch your workshop, because it's fantastic. It's really in depth. And like you said, there's even more information, but there's a lot of really good tips in there. So definitely get that from Cody if you need it. You'd be surprised how much goes into it. It's a science. It's not, there's no wiggle room. No, there's very little wiggle room. There's a reason, the Cody likes to start earlier than later, because the more time you have, it's better to be ready early, right? Than to be pushed until the last second, and then you don't even have time to fill back your muscles with stuff. So yeah, I mean, as far as from my side of things, yeah, what prep looks like for a spouse or partner, it's fun. It's definitely something. It's definitely something that you have to kind of be ready for change in your routine from like your typical day-to-day routine. If you guys go out all the time and even once or twice a week and stuff like that, be, mentally prepared for that to change, because like Cody said, like once you get on prep, you've got to really hone in on your nutrition and prioritize it. You really, truly, you have to live, eat, and breathe it for those 20 weeks. And I know a lot of partners struggle with it, but just want to remind you it's temporary. Like it's literally 20 weeks. And then hopefully you reverse diet afterwards, so you don't just go back into like immediately into like what you're doing before. But like it's 20 weeks and it's totally worth it. And there's definitely, ways you can support your partner and things you can do. And yeah,
for sure. It's like, I think it's hard, especially for partners, if food is something that you have bonded over. It can be extremely hard to go through a prep with a partner because you no longer have that common bond. You can still eat the same food if you want, but a lot of partners don't want to eat prep food. But hey, it's not that bad as long as you know how to cook it. But anywho, so when you have that food as common bond, it can cause a rift, and you have to find things outside of food to bond over, whether that's just like going out for a walk, like maybe your partner wants to join you to get some of your steps, or even just watching your favorite shows, that sort of thing. I mean, you can still eat together. You might be eating different things, but there's not going to be like, oh, it sounds so good. Let's go get pizza and then do this. Oh my gosh, I love that. It's that part of a relationship where you're sharing that experience. And so you won't have that to share. So just kind of be prepared for that. Have something in place to substitute it with. And remember that it's temporary. It's not forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't take it personally, because it's not like they don't want to go on the dates and they don't want to do the things with you. It's just literally prep won't work.
Yeah.
Unless you stay on plan. And so it's like, it's a little bit of a sacrifice, on the side of the partner as well. Maybe a lot of a sacrifice depending on how important food is to your relationship. But ultimately, there's lots of things you can find to do to still enjoy your time together, and make it a good 20. And really, if you do it right, you can really become a team. I feel like, your last prep, we became a really solid team, and it was a really enjoyable experience. There were moments that were kind of crazy just because, you were like ill and your coach was making you do cardio like 7 or 8 days a week for like, I don't know, fucking 3 hours. It was insane. Not really. I'm exaggerating, but it was a lot. And you were like, you had an infection at one point, and it was it gets kind of scary. So, but the other thing I would say with that is like, your partner, and it's normal for them, and it's not normal. And pay, it's important to pay attention to how they're doing, and especially if they're not good at noticing when they're sick, maybe just keeping an eye. But with that being said, towards the end of prep, they do get really tired. They do like extremely low energy. They walk slower, they talk slower, like literally like their brains are fighting to function because their bodies are so low body fat. They're just trying to survive. And so again, it's about not taking things personally, but finding ways to connect. Like, what did we do? Like, most of your prep last year, we didn't eat the same foods, but we ate together. We still ate together and watched our shows and took our walks and did our workouts and stuff like that. So we were still able to stay connected, so that's important.
Yeah. So, and you can still share like the anticipatory experiences you're going to have with food afterwards, and it makes it more fun. And then when you get to enjoy things together again, it's like a treat. So it's, I feel like bodybuilding is the sport of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
It is all, for sure. Everything about it is delayed gratification, but it's one of the best feelings. If you've ever waited a long time, you've worked really hard for something and waited a really long time for something, there is no better feeling when you finally achieve it. So another thing to kind of keep in mind as you're chipping away at things, as you feel like it's, time's passing by super slow and you're hungry and you just really want, you really want a cupcake or something, a cookie, you can have that. It's not going anywhere. You just, if you want to step on stage your best, it's best to have it another time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's definitely important to, talking about this, the mental grind. I think prep is definitely, I would say, more mentally hard than physically hard, because like physically you can do the things, but like mentally your mind fucks with you. So can you talk a little bit about how you get through that?
Yeah. It's kind of like I said, you just have to know your why and why you're doing it, which is, I've seen people either drop out or just not, happy with their look stepping on stage because they didn't have a strong why behind it. And so their wants kind of overpowered their why. So it's kind of like, oh, like I thought I wanted this, but I also really want to go on dates with my partner, or I really want to, go out to eat and enjoy myself. And that's totally fine. You just have to know where your priorities are at before you start prep, because that's going to be huge. So just make sure everything, you're aligned with your priorities, and be honest with yourself. If you're not into it, you're not into it. No one's going to punish you for that. It's just a matter of making sure your mind and your body is in the right place. So I think one of the things I like to remind myself during prep that kind of keeps me going, it's really easy to fall into a negative mindset and be like, I'm starving, I'm tired. What is this bullshit? Like everything sucks. But then you have to think and laugh, being like, this is a choice. Like I am choosing this. I am doing this to myself.
Exactly.
It is a privilege to strategically starve, to get on stage kind of naked, do some poses and get judged for it. Like it's ridiculous if you think about it. Exhilarating. And it's kind of this, it's a journey. It's almost a spiritual journey of like, you feel like you're fasting. You're this monk journey, right? Except at the end, you get up on stage and flex. But it's, you learn a lot about yourself, but just kind of try to remind yourself how privileged you actually are to be doing this, because that's not the case for a lot of people. So,
it's like you chose this. And on that note, from a partner's perspective, remember that you chose this. So when you're hungry and tired and grumpy, remember it was your choice, and don't take it out on your partner. And Cody has never done this to me, but I have seen it happen to other people. And, you see YouTube videos and stuff, and people can turn into real assholes. And just remember, like, it's not your partner's fault that you're hungry. They'd prefer that you weren't. And so just like, remember, like, you can just take a breath, go take a nap, walk away, because emotions can get high. Things get stressful, especially towards the end. So it's remembering to really build that communication with your partner. Tell them how you're feeling. Don't hold your shit in, that kind of thing, because it can build up and then you can explode, and then people break up. A lot of people break up during prep. A lot of people don't make it through prep because learning how to regulate your emotions and handle yourself is one thing, like just as an adult, but then like prep is another. And so I think that's a really good point that you make, is like, remember, you are choosing this and it is a privilege.
Yes.
And so, I've been very lucky. Cody and I are really good with communication, and I can just usually tell when you're like mentally drained. And so I'll just, we've had plenty of nights where we just kind of sit in silence, and that's fine. The quiet is good, because you're like, my brain is just fucking dead, on top of working. Because most people, unless you're like a professional bodybuilder, you don't get to that's not all you get to do, right? A lot of people have kids. A lot of people have full-time jobs. And so like, it's a lot. And so, just remember to keep communicating with your partner, and make sure that you have a pretty solid pretty solid communication and relationship period before you go into it, because it can be hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to like create the little checklist. So, checklist of things to check off before you start a prep. How are you mentally? Is your mental health okay? Because that's not going to get any better once you start. Any sort of chaos or negativity is just going to come with you. Number 2, how's your physical health? Have you gotten blood work? Everything good there, whether you're using PEDs or not. You need to be healthy. Your blood work needs to look good. So make sure you've got that under control. And then your relationships. How are those? If your relationship with your partner is a bit unstable before prep, not a good idea to start prep and just throw more on that plate. So you really need to make sure, that whole thing with being honest with yourself before going into it. But also you need to make sure you've got your habits down, your foundational habits. If you still can't seem to track your food every day, if you still can't seem to get enough sleep or hydrate every day, base level, you're just not ready, because if you are off on those points in prep, it's just not going to go well. So make sure you're able to be consistent even before you start prep. And there's a small percentage of people out there where they can't seem to get their ass in line unless they're in prep or something. And that really is just the thing that kicks their ass into gear. You probably know who you are. That's okay. But for the majority of the population, if you don't already have those foundations, it's not just going to magically start working for you when you start prep. So those are like the main things to make sure you're checking off. Like, I'm ready here, because it is no joke. It is going to get rough.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about that sleep thing for a minute. So, I know typically sleep can really affect you just in your everyday life. Can you talk about your experiences in the last prep and sleep, and like how it kind of changes towards the end, and how, I know hunger affects it, and just, kind of hammer down on that part.
Yeah. So sleep essentially gets worse and worse the further along in prep you get, because you're hungry. You will wake up hungry, and it's really hard to ignore it. So the best thing you can do is try to push your meals back further, even if that means having to like have a longer period of time between an earlier meal, just so you don't go to bed hungry. I hate going to bed hungry. So that's going to be a big thing. You can expect to also wake up earlier because you are hungry. So your body is going to naturally wake you up earlier. Your cortisol is probably higher. You're stressed. So getting to bed early might be a good idea. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't seem to fall back asleep, obviously there's like some supplements you can try. You might have to add things in like magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin to help you stay asleep in prep. Maybe some Delta 8 gummies. That's what I used, which that helped a lot. So the sleep thing gets harder, and unfortunately, prep doesn't stop because you're sleep deprived. There is some times where it's like, we cannot push you more. We need to rest you. You need to sleep, but preferably would like to not get there. So you really have to pay attention to your sleep and recovery and make sure, you're getting that under control. And it can also differ between, if you're using certain substances that can potentially disrupt your sleep. So some of those things may not be worth it for you if it's very, very much so disrupting your sleep. And just kind of be aware of how things might affect you.
Yeah. There's no substance that's worth wrecking your body. Because you end up not sleeping the last 4 weeks of prep, because you will get on stage just trashed. I mean, on that note, I remember our last prep, there was this time where you were really struggling. You were going like 7 days a week and on cardio, and you still just didn't feel like you were lean enough. And then you pulled back a little bit, right, on your cardio, and then things tended to get a little better for you. You seem to drop some of that last bit of fat you were hanging on to. So you want to talk a little bit about that, and like paying attention to your body, and if paying attention to signs maybe that you might be overdoing it?
Yeah. So that is actually a really common thing that can happen where, you're pushing really hard, and you're going to have to. basically at some point your body starts getting a little too stressed out, and then it starts retaining water, which can look like fat. So my body was super stressed out because I was doing cardio 7 days a week, no break. I don't recommend that. I was following coach's orders, even though I knew it was not
And had an
correct.
infection.
Yeah, and that's part of it. So like I was, not, the sleep was definitely not going well. Doing cardio 7 days a week, and then I got this UTI. I didn't know at the time I had this UTI. I wasn't thinking about it, and you just don't. We'll just say for my trans guys out there, when you have alloplasty, sometimes you can't tell until you get a fever or something. That's what happened. I started getting this like low grade fever, and I felt nauseous, but I still didn't put two and two together. I don't even remember how we put two and two together.
Well, you were getting chills after cardio. Like anytime you would sweat, you would just get insane chills. You had to like take a sweater to the gym basically.
Yeah.
And you just like were like bedridden just about. You were like, I literally cannot do cardio. Like literally. And then I was like, yeah, we're going to go to urgent care.
Yeah. It took me a while. There was like 3 days where I was like, I don't fucking know if I could do this. I don't fucking know if I can do this. And then I did it. And then finally one day I just hit a wall. Like I remember taking my dogs out down the stairs to go to the bathroom. I was like, I feel like I can't even do this. It was rough. And so I remember I texted my coach and being like, I couldn't eat either because I was so nauseous. So I was like, I'm really nauseous. I feel sick. I don't want to not do cardio, my workout and stuff, but like, I feel awful. What do I do? And he had me rest, I was like, thank fuck. So that day I basically, I still hit my step goal because I was still like, how about I just hit my step goal? That was awful, but I did it. And so I was eating like soup, trying to just eat something because I was hungry, but also nauseous. And I think I was like, oh, I have noticed it kind of burns a little or something. And then I took my temperature and I had like a low grade fever. And I was just like, oh
no,
I wonder if I have a UTI. And sure as hell, so you took my ass to urgent care, got some antibiotics, and then
remember how you almost made me turn around halfway there?
Yeah, because I was just like, no, this is stupid. I'm fine. And I didn't want to go because I always feel like anytime I use like an urgent or emergency service that I'm just like, wasting people's time and it's just going to be nothing, and then I'll feel embarrassed. And so I almost made us turn around, but then I was just like, no, fuck it. Actually, I feel really bad. So let's just go.
I wasn't going to turn around, by the way.
So went, and then, I had a UTI, which was kind of, doctors are so fucking weird sometimes. Like I had this, I think he was German. I had this male doctor, which a lot of times they have nurse practitioners even in urgent care, and not, doctors, but whatever. And he, before we had like the results of the UTI and stuff, he was talking to me like about my symptoms and stuff or whatever. And he's like, kind of weird for a man to get a UTI, I was just like, okay, they get them.
Okay. It happens.
It's like, it's rare. And I don't know if he like looked at my chart and saw that I was trans and was just kind of being like an asshole about it. But then he got the test and he was like, oh, okay, I guess you do have a UTI, and then prescribed me antibiotics. And he was going to tell me to pick him up, but it was already like 7:30 at night. And I was just like, do I just grab him tomorrow? And he's like, no, pick it up today. And I was like, my pharmacy's closed. So he gave me one for that night and like a little, and then the next day I picked up my prescription, but I started feeling better. Like even like when I woke up the next day after taking that first round, it was like, from there I started feeling better. And from there, my coach actually, this was like 3 weeks out at this point, we stopped doing cardio and it was just steps. And so I remember checking in, it was like almost every day, and just like praying he wasn't going to bring the cardio back, because I was like, I still feel
you were
like
so
shit,
nervous.
But I started feeling better at like peak week, obviously, but I was
it
so
took a while though.
I couldn't even pose for my posing coach. Remember, like,
Yeah.
I had this session and he was like, yeah, you need to rest. He's like, you're hurting. You need to rest. Because I couldn't hold the pose because I was getting dizzy because you have to kind of hold your breath. And I was just like, whoa. And so, yeah, didn't get cardio back, continued to lean out. I think I dropped like 15 pounds in like 2 weeks, and it was mostly just water. And then so as my weight was dropping, my coach was giving me more food and he kept having to give me more carbs. Like I was almost
You were eating so much.
Yeah, I was eating quite a bit those last, few weeks. It felt weird, to be in prep. And then I was still hungry though. I was like fucking loving it. I guess it felt like an endless pit, but lots of squash and just being like, this is the best. Like food tastes so good when you're so hungry. But yeah, made it to the stage and it all worked out. But just be aware of your body. If something feels off, just make sure that you're paying attention. Fevers are a red flag.
If you're getting dizzy a lot,
yeah,
definitely
so you might
a
get
lot.
Dizzy.
Sure.
Yeah.
And just remember, like, your coach is there to support you and help you, and your coach knows how to get you through this. So you have to communicate. Don't keep shit like that from your coach because it will not help them help you. So definitely trust your coach and remember to stay open and communicating about everything that's going on with your body because everything plays a factor.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Sorry, Siri. Siri's trying to talk to me now. My bad.
Siri. She wants to join in the conversation. Yeah. And I think, in hindsight, there was definitely some parts that were my own fault where, I was trying to be, I don't know if there's a stigma or because like I'm trans, I didn't want him to think of me as different or like a wuss because I'm trans. Where I just felt like I'm just going to do everything he says. I'm not going to say shit. I'm not going to complain. Just going to do it to a T and follow instructions. So it felt awful when I had to text him and be like, I feel so bad. I was just like, I felt almost like I failed. And that was rough. But really in the end, it wasn't a big deal. Oh, he handled it just fine. He was just like, yeah, rest. And then he changed what we were doing. He just needed that feedback from me. And so it's important to just give your coach the feedback so he knows what to do. Otherwise, he's not going to know. So who knows? If I would have said something sooner, we could have dialed it back sooner. And so don't try to be a hero of nothing.
Yeah. I was going to ask, in hindsight, you probably would have told him sooner. Because I feel like I was trying to get you to talk to him about it for like a week. For real.
Yeah.
So so definitely like if you feel like you need to give your coach some feedback, give them the feedback and let them know how you're feeling for sure.
Yeah.
Because you also don't want to end up hospitalized. You can get very sick because your immune system kind of is also probably struggling a little bit, right? So you have to be careful. And so, because if you end up hospitalized, that could fuck up your whole prep. You can be done. So definitely just pay attention to your body, communicate with your coach. They're not the enemy. They're not going to hate you. They better not. If they do, get a different coach next time.
Yeah. And, thinking of me being a coach as well, if I were to look at my situation and what if I was my coach, then I'd be like, you dumbass, like, why didn't you tell me?
Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. So it's like, also as a coach, like I would be freaked out, if I had a client that ended up in the hospital. And don't do that to your coach either, because they feel responsible for you, even though you sign a waiver. So we're like, we're not responsible for you. But we still feel that and we care about you. So please always tell your coach if something is off.
Yeah. It's an extreme sport. You're doing extreme things to your body. It's not healthy. So you got to be careful.
Exactly.
But it's worth it. If you do it right, it's worth it.
Yeah. Like it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but you come out on the other end, I would be like, I was a changed man, but you just feel so much more capable and confident once you get through it. 'Cause you're like, that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. What else can I do? And that just starts a whole new journey. It doesn't even have to be bodybuilding related. It could be work, career, life related. It, builds your confidence in all aspects of life. So sure, yeah, bodybuilding is this weird, selfish sport, but what people don't think about is how much it actually carries over in other parts of your life in a positive way. So that's what I always like to remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Trying to see if I'm missing anything else. Where are we now?
So I don't know. We've kind of been all over the place, but that's okay. as far as relationships go and partners and stuff like that, like what do you feel like is the most important thing you got from me or need from me as a partner during prep?
I feel like I just had your full support, even if you weren't, you see people on YouTube where their partners are like cooking their food for them and running errands for them and doing all these things. You did run some errands for me, which I am so thankful for. And I always felt so bad for. But it's like, even if you're not contributing in that way, I knew that just emotionally you were excited for me. You were just as excited for me as I was for, stepping on stage. So it wasn't just this like, I don't really like that you're doing this, but I'll support you. It was just like, you were so excited. You let me, ramble about it constantly. You still do. So you let me like nerd out on things and you act like just as interested. Even
It's
though
fun.
It's probably not.
It's so fun. No, I love it. It helps that I love it. It helps that it's very fascinating to me and quite fun. Yeah.
That definitely is helpful. And I know that's not going to be the case for everyone. So even if you are a partner who's not into it and it's kind of like, it's stupid,
Yeah, that's not helpful.
No, just try to think of it as something that, there's this goal that your partner is setting out for to, better themselves or, just to push themselves to complete something. Support that, support that. That is where you should support. It's like, my partner is doing something really hard and, it's advantageous and it's, admirable to, do something that is very, very hard. And I feel like if you can get your support behind that idea, it'll help kind of shift that perspective from this, basically human dog show situation and shift it into this accomplishment that takes a lot of hard work and discipline and mental toughness. So, yeah.
I agree. I think like, if there was something that I was going to do that I was super passionate about, that I needed to commit a lot of time and energy to, you'd be behind me as long as it wasn't like something really dumb, which I've done before. But like, you have to think about it from that perspective of like, if this is really important to your partner and this is something they're very passionate about, then be proud of them for being passionate about something and wanting to commit time and dedicate themselves to this, because it's not easy. And that alone just, makes, I think it can make it a pretty good partner, somebody that is willing to commit to something hard and see it through. It says a lot for usually what they're willing to do for relationships too, and just life in general. So they're less likely to be a bump on a log and more likely to be a productive member of society typically. So yeah, it's just definitely just remember, like, if they're passionate about it, then it's their thing. And if you're just really like not on board and you really hate it, then it's like, maybe it's not the right fit for you. But I would say, telling somebody they can't do it or something like that is just super shitty. If you get to that point, maybe you need counseling with your partner or something, because it can be kind of crappy. But yeah, just be as supportive as you can. And he wouldn't let me cook for him, but I tried to help in other ways. But yeah, just being there next to them is often just knowing they're not alone in it. I really did feel like when you got on stage, I was there too. Just because like, and that maybe sounds like a little like I'm into myself, but like it was a team thing. We got through it together, Yeah. And it was like we both won that day. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of the best days of my life.
Oh, well, same, but also it's just like, I don't think, there's always words and stuff like that. but I feel like I didn't understand just how supportive you were till like the end when, I saw your face when I won and you were just as excited for me. Like you showed how I felt on the inside because I'm awkward and I can't show emotion physically. I was just like deer in the headlights, like, did they make a mistake? Did they call me?
Oh God, I have to talk on the microphone.
Yeah, I'm like, don't react, be cool, whatever. I just freeze, and then you're just like so happy. So I'm like, thanks for expressing what I couldn't, but also just seeing your reaction and being like, damn, she really is just as excited for me, and she really was in this with me. And yeah, that felt amazing. And I can't imagine, not having that type of support. And so I feel very lucky. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's fun. I'm looking forward to being ready to go through it again. I know we got some time of building and you're in a health phase and trying to get back to where your body would even tolerate a prep. But yeah. I look forward to the next show because it's a blast. It's a really good experience. And I don't know. I feel like I made it stronger. I think I really did. We were much closer after that. For sure. And I feel like, there's just hard moments like that always make you closer. That's absolutely. One thing. You'll probably will get closer to your partner afterwards because you went through something that was challenging. But also, should we talk about maybe the after effects or post? Well, do you want to talk about actual show day? If you have any tips? For maybe the day before and leading up to show day and then we could talk about after?
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to prep, I would say you start feeling shitty around the 6-week mark to where you're like, okay, I'm feeling it now. Prep brain is coming in strong. And then energy levels are not as great. And then from there on, it kind of gets harder and harder up until about peak week. And that's where you start to get to eat a little bit more because you're replenishing those glycogen stores in your muscles that you've been depleted. You probably feel flat. You probably feel stringy. You probably feel like you're too skinny. That's another thing that is a massive, most common thing is like, I feel flat. And it's like, yeah, you're supposed to. We're depleting you. You think you're going to feel nice and full, and no. So we are starving you. It's normal. If you don't feel flat, then you're going to be fat. So that's something to make sure to pay attention to.
If you don't feel flat, you're going to be fat.
It's true. If you don't feel flat, you're going to be fat on stage.
You definitely went through that. You absolutely went through that.
Yeah. I mean, also there was the water retention that I was just like, my back, why am I'm fat? But then, that started dropping as I recovered from endless cardio. But so, you're going to be, especially the week before peak week is probably one of the hardest weeks. That's when your carbs are the lowest. That's when you're grinding hard and just telling yourself one more week until peak week, and then you should get a little bit more food coming up. As long as you do everything right, then you should get more food during peak week to fill up those muscles, and then you come into show day looking full. Peak week also, cardio is probably going to come down. It's more about resting, bringing stress levels down because you look better when your body is not as stressed. So those are some things to keep in mind. You got to make room for that last week.
What about workouts? What do those look like during that last week? How should you feel?
Last week, you should basically just be doing pump workouts. So light work, get a pump, go home. You're mostly trying to focus on recovery and rest. So a lot of times you won't even do a leg day during peak week. A lot of times, last leg day is the previous week. But, if you're doing men's physique, it doesn't fucking matter because you're wearing shorts. Basically, you don't want to go too hard with workouts because that can cause some inflammation. You might look a little bit more watery or not as defined if you're holding on to a little water and stress from working out too close or too hard to competition day. So kind of got to be wary of how hard you're pushing it in the gym. Listen to your coach. If your coach says just a pump and stop, do not do more because you think it's going to make you look better.
You can injure yourself.
That too, because you're depleted. Your tendons and stuff, they're all more sensitive. So that is also when a lot of bodybuilders get injured, even doing little things. I mean, Chris Bumstead tore his bicep warming up at the Olympia.
Yeah.
Things get a little sketch. So be careful.
So don't be hard on yourself if you're not lifting what you normally do.
Yeah, it's normal for your strength to come down, especially around the last, 6 weeks. There is some placebo or psychosomatic symptoms right when people start prep and you're in like the tiniest deficit. They're like, oh, I feel so weak. I'm like, you aren't. You're fine. You're just overthinking it. You shouldn't really, your strength shouldn't be going down until those last few weeks. So try to hold on to your strength as much as you can, as long as, recovery and food is decently adequate. But yeah, so then comes show day. And we'll go up to, so there's tanning blowing up over there. So there is usually before your show, you have tanning the night before, and then check-ins around the same time. And then the next morning you get another coat of tan. So you need to be prepared, plan your meals ahead, take some meals with you if you need, because sometimes you don't know how long you're going to be there. And you make an appointment for that tan. I like to make the appointment to be, around when they're doing the athlete check-ins, as close as I can to that. Yeah. So I don't have to go home and come back, especially if there's a distance from, the venue. Mm-hmm. So kind of keep that in mind if you can just go there and kill two birds with one stone. Because a lot of times they have check-ins, but then you have, like, the appointments are at different times. Sometimes it's unavoidable and you just have to come back. But yeah, anywho. So tanning, make sure you shave. If you are a woolly mammoth like me or a Sasquatch, whatever, make sure you get it all off because your tan is not going to look right if you have hair. So
and enough time for shaving.
It takes
a minute.
It's exhausting when you're depleted.
And have somebody help you.
Yeah. Yeah. So sorry, partners, again, we need your help for the disgusting things. But yeah, so after it looked like we murdered a medium-sized animal after shaving all of my body, then one of the best things you could do is exfoliate with, like, either, I would say you could use sugar. It's a little more friendly in case you cut yourself shaving. So sugar, and then like dish soap, because it takes the oils off of your skin so that the tan sticks better. You might need a little bit more layers of tan because your skin will like absorb more of the tanner in that circumstance, which happened to me. But at least your tan's going to be smooth. It's going to stay on. It's not going to smudge as much. And then when you go for tanning, wear a big shirt and like some baggy pants or shorts so that it doesn't, rub the tan off. But don't
sandals.
Yeah, sandals, flip-flops or slides. And the tanning room is usually freezing, along with the tan itself is freezing. And it was fucking cold last time. So you're all standing together in this room. Be prepared to see a lot of naked dudes if you're not used to it. Everyone's standing around in their underwear. Should I go? I'll just describe for anyone who's never done a show and you're nervous. Okay. So you go for your appointment. You wait until they call you back. They put you in this little tent sort of thing. They tell you to undress, and then you wait there until they bring you into another little tent where they spray you down. The spray, at first, it's so cold. It feels like they're spraying you with ice water and you're like shivering. If you're doing bodybuilding, you're a trans guy, you might want to either tell them ahead of time, because a lot of guys just come in there with socks on their dicks because, there's not much on stage that you're wearing. You don't want tan lines. So you can either talk to the tanning company ahead of time to, feel more comfortable, or you could just tell them you're going to wear your posing shorts. They're just your practice shorts and you're just wearing those so you don't have to be completely naked or whatever. I'm in men's physique, so I could wear just underwear and it's fine. They don't make you take anything off. They don't make you do anything you're not comfortable with. So just keep that in mind. So they spray you, it's cold. And then they have you go to this other section and stand in front of a fan with a bunch of other kind of naked guys as you dry off. It's all exposure therapy. And then they come by periodically to check to see if you're good to go, if you're dry enough. And then they'll instruct you to do some weird things sometimes, like tuck your shirt into your pants. I don't understand that instruction. Just wear loose fitting clothing. Try not to roll around too much afterwards. Don't take a shower because you're going to wash it off. It gets darker. It gradually gets darker. So if you feel like it's too light at first, just wait. It does get darker as the day goes on. And then you're going to have another morning coat. So if it does smudge, don't worry. Make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And make sure that night sleep on sheets you don't give a fuck about because you're going to get some shit on your sheets.
If you're in a hotel, take some sheets that you can throw away because you don't want to get charged for sheets.
No. Yeah. So then same thing next morning. They have, I think you make an appointment for that, or they'll do it by class depending on when you're going to go. Men's physique is at 6 a.m. Bikini, 6:30. It's usually pretty early. So go for your morning coat. That's when it's more important to be very careful that you're not smudging things because you'll get a final gloss. They'll do some touch-ups for you backstage if you need, but you're not going to get another session of spray. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with show day is that, make sure to pay attention. Don't be wandering around. They're very nitpicky about people paying attention and getting on the stage. They don't want to come search for you.
They won't babysit you.
It's like they did a lot of babysitting. They were kind to do as much babysitting as they did. They did everything they could to find people when they could not, even though they said they weren't going to do that. They still did it, which, I think they care and they don't want people to miss their stage calls. But there is so much yelling, just being yelling out numbers, where are you? It was just okay, don't miss your call out. So pay attention. It's okay to be nervous. I was extremely nervous. They don't let anyone backstage with you unless you pay for it, and it's a pretty big amount of money.
It's a lot of money.
So I just was back there by myself and just kind of pay attention to what other people are doing, especially if you're new. And yeah, just wait for, if you have questions, go ahead and ask the people just so you don't miss something you're supposed to do or miss getting your touch-ups or your gloss. And follow directions, do your thing. Try to just remember too that all of the hard work is done. So show day is just about presenting all of the hard work you've done over the last 20 weeks or whatever amount of time and being proud of that. And that's the moment you've been working for. And that's the moment that's kept you going. I know I've always said in my head, I'm I will not be happy stepping on stage unless I know I gave it everything I had. So that was always what got me off my ass to do my steps, do my cardio, and be I will not feel good about my effort on stage if I do not do this. So it's even if you don't place well or etc., as long as you know that you did everything you could, you're going to walk away still feeling pretty darn good.
Absolutely.
So just try to keep
celebrate getting up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not easy.
It's a big accomplishment.
It's intimidating. There's people staring at you and, even if I had done it a few times, but even then I was still so nervous and shaky. So with your posing, make sure to practice because you're going to be very, very nervous. They ask you to hold your poses. So the more you can practice posing, it's also another thing. Do it from day one, every day, practice your posing, practice holding your poses, because that's another way to stand out. A lot of people do not practice enough, and then you see them shaking, you see them sweating, and they're sweating their tan off. Judges notice those things.
They're oh, you're not really in shape.
Exactly. So those little things judges will notice and pay attention to, and your presentation can make a difference. So yeah, it's something I really, really need to work on myself. The confidence is just not there for me quite yet. Every single time I feel I've improved a little bit, but I'm just not where I want to be with it yet. We'll see how it goes the next time. But posing is harder than it looks. So get on that. Yeah. I do recommend hiring a posing coach if you can. What else for show day? Yeah, just have fun as much as you can. Just remember you've already done all the things. Yeah, I think that's just my biggest piece of advice. You've already done all the hard work. So celebrate on stage, show it off, and
absolutely
go have fun and, get something to eat afterwards. Don't go crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. So then after show, did you want to talk about after show, post show?
Yeah. So post show, unless you have another competition scheduled a few weeks out or the next week or whatever, I've had that, which is also its own kind of suck because you don't really get to have that celebratory meal. You kind of just keep going. Eventually you'll get it. So if you have that, just keep in mind, eventually it'll come. Delayed gratification, remember, it's the sport. So go out, enjoy your meal with your family, your supporters, your partner, That's one of my favorite things because it feels like the first time you get to just relax and enjoy yourself for the first time in weeks because you've just been grinding, you've been anxious thinking about being on stage, and enjoy that meal, but do not go crazy. Do not binge. Don't order the whole menu. Remind yourself that food is not going anywhere, because you are primed to put on, I mean, you can be primed to use that hunger and that appetite and the insulin sensitivity to rebound nicely and, you know, put on some muscle in a post-show phase in the off season. But you can also do some damage by eating too much, because your body is also primed to just store fat. It thinks it's starving. So it's gonna...
You can gain a lot of fat quickly.
You really can. It happens quicker than you might think. So it's also painful, because you're gonna be retaining a shit ton of water if you binge. And I feel like, I mean, I didn't, luckily, my first show do that. I think I just knew that I didn't want to get into that miserable situation, because I've seen it and been warned about it. But some others not so lucky, and then it's something you do once and you just like never again. But I would recommend not even doing it once, because it's not comfortable. So just remind yourself, food is not going anywhere. You know, you do not have to consume all of the foods before they disappear. Yeah, it's just try to, you know, you can relax, but don't just let everything fly out the window and be like, I'm going to eat all the things. I'm going to eat all the shit I wouldn't even eat if it was a normal day.
Good point.
Yeah.
And then go back to enjoying your life and get back into your routine. Make up for the missed date nights. Little extra walking time because you have a little more energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think post-show, you have this high that you kind of ride on. It lasts maybe a week or two. It's fun because, you know, training feels good again. You have energy, you have food, you're getting awesome pumps. You're like, fuck yeah, these are awesome pumps. And I look pretty fucking lean, so I'm feeling good. But then as you get, you know, further into the off season, you start to kind of, you know, your mood might dip a little, being like, what am I working towards now? Like your life was so structured and you were so focused on this one thing, you feel a little lost. So just make sure you put, you know, like a label or a purpose on each phase. So after the show, you know, if you need more size, it's like, I'm going into a growth phase because I want to be more competitive in my next show, and just kind of keep that, you know, bigger picture in mind, that everything you do right now is also still going to contribute to your next physique on stage. So in a way, it's still prep. So keep that same focus and, you know, relax a little and have some fun, wiggle room. But stay focused on building muscle, improving your physique for the next time. And just always keep in mind that the off season is just as important, if not more so, because that is going to determine if you improve your physique the next time you step on the stage. So don't get too loosey-goosey with things, especially if you're passionate about it and you really want to be making improvements for the next show. But be careful about that. You know, it's like post-show blues, because that event was such a huge part of your mind and your life at the time, and not having that can kind of start to weigh, and, you know, things get a little bit more repetitive and boring, and you feel like you're just kind of don't have the same direction. But don't let that fool you. You're still headed in the same direction. It's just going to be a little slower.
Takes time.
It does. It does indeed. So yeah, did we cover everything? I feel like I rambled a lot.
No, I mean, there's so much. There's so much to say about this topic. You know, we could probably have another one focusing on specific things if people have questions.
Yeah.
If you have specific questions, leave them in the comments, you know, and Cody can address them. You know, there's so much. I don't think you rambled. I think there's a lot to explain. So
yeah. Or if you want the link to that workshop, let me know. And I can get that. Either I'll, you know, send it out in my email list or something, or I'll put it in the description of some sort. If not this episode, the next one, just let me know if you would like to check that out. But yeah, I think that about wraps things up.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Yeah. And thanks for giving partners perspective, because that's an important piece that a lot of people forget about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here and give my input.
Well, thanks. All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you next time. But make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss an episode. Catch me and Des on Instagram. I can put our handles down below. Des, you're always like, no. But
I'm not very active, but
Instagrams and websites if you need a coach for training, all that information is in the description below. And peace out, guys. Talk to you next time.
see ya.